Welcome to tutorial 5 of the personal cashbook training. In this tutorial I'm going to start off by explaining to you what the find and replace button is used for. If you know Excel, then you know Excel has its own find and replace button, but again, because of all the protections and the formulas, the find and replace needed to be disabled, so we've replaced it with a find and replace button within the functionality of the cashbook. So what it's for is that if, for example, you don't need to see specific words like iBank transfer and like iBank payment, and you just want to neaten your cashbook up, and in some cases the description can go right across the column and it makes it untidy, so you can use the find and replace button to tidy your cashbook up. What you would do is you would highlight the whole cashbook again, and you would click on find and replace. Find and replace what? Let's say we want to find and replace iBank transfer. And then if you watch the words iBank transfer here, when I click it, because I'm going to replace it with nothing, the iBank transfer words then disappear. And if we now go and do iBank payments and click on OK, watch the iBank payment words, they disappear. So that's just a little added functionality for you to use if you wish to. And you can do that on all the cash books. As you can see, while we were off camera, I went and did some account coding and allocation. Well, I actually did all of it for all the cash books that we've imported, so that we have got some substantial information in our summary of income and expenses. Once you have completed your allocations, where we have edited the chart of accounts to suit your personal requirements, we've imported the bank statements, we've coded the transactions, we've inserted the opening balances the first time you use the product, and now what you need to do, very important, especially if you've done splitting, you need to go and take a look that the closing balance of your cash book is agreeing to the closing balance on your bank statement as at that date. Because remember, the cash book does not bring the balance through from the bank statement, because if you're going to do splitting, this balance needs to calculate itself, and you just need to make sure that you haven't deleted something by accident and check that the closing balance is agreeing to your bank statement. We've brought in the opening balance for this one, and we've coded it, and again, you must go and check that the closing balance of the cash book agrees to the last date on the bank statement. This bank exports its transactions from oldest to newest, so this closing balance will apply to the 28th of February. So don't scratch your head for an hour over a bank that exports its transactions from oldest to newest. The closing balance will relate to the last date at the top of the cash book. Right, so now you've done all that, entered your opening balances, checked your closing balances, you will now go to your summary of income and expenses and have a look that it's making sense to you. Because there might be an amount sitting next to a description that you know that you didn't incur any cost for that particular item. So let's say, for example, can't remember allocating anything to cleaning. Now your finger might have slipped when you selected the account code allocation. So what you can go and do is you can then go back to the cash book, click on the summarize button, and go and deselect all of these ticks so that you can just select cleaning to see what transactions you allocated to cleaning. And then you will either say, okay, now I do remember, or if you don't remember, you can go and have a look at which bank account these transactions came from, so that you can go and have a look at the bank account, its credit card TUT and its cash, to see if it was an actual misallocation or not. You get the details of the transaction, bank TUT. Remember, you can just double click this open to open the column width, and a cash transaction for R100, 141, 63, 28, 97. Go and look on your cash book and just double check that you wanted to allocate that to cleaning. And if you didn't, then you reallocate it. So that's how you use your summary of expenses, just for a month-end check, or however often you do your cash books, every week or every quarter, and check the bottom line as to whether it makes sense to you or not in terms of the amount of money that you spent. Now in this case, it's indicating that this person overspent by 192,000 Rand, which is of course not ideal. They spent 192,000 Rand more than they earned. But if you go and take a look, you'll see they did some improvements to their property, so they probably had savings for that. And then I noticed they had to go and pay their tax of a nice big whack of money there. And they possibly didn't draw as much income from their business that month because they used money from their bond account to pay for their income tax. So it takes a little bit of analysing to make sure that you don't have yourself a heart attack, but you, I'm sure, will know where you got the money to cover the extra expenses. Now the next check that you do is you check to see that this amount here must be nil. Now you'll see it isn't. And I've done that on purpose so that I can show you something that you need to be aware of, but also to show you how you can now go and look for that 5221 that is out. You will go to your cash book, you can click on the summarize button, you can click on the filter arrow in the total column, deselect all, and look for the amount 5221. And click on OK, and it will then tell you the account code that it was allocated to, the date, the description, and the bank. So now you can go and have a look at that transaction, 5221, in account bold, 1st of February, there it is, 5221. So something has gone wrong here. And what happened here is that I allocated this transaction to the insurance account description. And then afterwards, I went and changed that insurance account description to insurance hospital plan. So if you change an account name after you've already allocated it, it's not going to pick it up. So if you do decide to change an account name after you've allocated something, please remember to go back to the allocation and then allocate it to the new name that you have given it. Or your summary of income and expenses won't be correct. And now it's nil. Those three amounts are agreeing, which makes this amount 0, and you have your completed summary of income and expenses. Now this is not a pure trial balance because I don't bring the balance of the bank accounts and the opening balances of fixed assets and that sort of thing into this worksheet B. If you want something like that done for you so that you can have a fully comprehensive set of books with a trial balance to take through to your statement of assets and liabilities, please email me for that. And we can set it up for you to include your opening balances that can deliver a statement of assets and liabilities for you. You can certainly get figures for your statement of assets and liabilities from this worksheet. You've got the amount of tax that you pay, you've got the amount of rent that you receive if you're renting out property, the value of the property improvements of your property. So there definitely is information here for you to prepare your statement of assets and liabilities. It's just not integrated. If you need that, please pop me an email. For young people who don't have bonds and a large amount of assets yet and so on, this simply helps them to learn how to manage their money. Okay, so once you've done those checks that I've just gone through with you, you will then save your cash book, and you can save it with a name, and you must actually save your file all the way along, because if you do any work and your computer does something strange, you don't want to lose all the hard work that you've done. So we can call it Cashbook February 2011 and save it. And please, while you're working on your cashbook, continue to save intermittently. Right, now we're ready to do our next month's cashbook. Or if you've still got transactions for February that didn't fit into the number of lines provided on these cashbooks, you will then follow the same procedure as you would for month end. When you are wanting to create a new sheet to import your new month's bank statements, the same process will be followed if you want to bring the balance of transactions in that didn't fit into the first cash book. Or remember, you can email me to make those cash books bigger for you. So let's hit it. You will click on Create New Sheet. Are you sure you want to create a blank sheet carrying over the opening balances? Oh yes, indeed, we are very sure. Now it's going to ask you to save it with a different name. So let's now name it either Cashbook 2 February 2011 if you're wanting to bring the balance of February transactions in, or you'll name it Cashbook March 2011. Okay, you can keep your cash books all neatly together in one place, in one location or folder on your computer, and you save. And now watch what it's going to do. It then creates a new cash book for you, bringing through the closing balances of the last cash book that you did. Now in this process of creating a new sheet, it closes the previous cash book. So let's just go and open it. And then you'll see the closing balance now of this cash book, 44,947, and it has brought that forward for the March cash book. And it's kept all the editing that you've done on your chart of accounts. It hasn't touched that. It has cleared out your summary of income and expenses because now you're going to do it for March. You will then just go and edit that this is now going to be for March 2011. You'll have an empty cash book with your opening balances, a blank income and expense account. Your splitting will be cleared, and of course you won't have anything in the summary yet because you haven't allocated any transactions. And then you start from the beginning exactly as I've changed you, with importing your bank statements. Find and replace any words that you don't need to see in your cash book. You don't need to enter your opening balances anymore, and you merrily carry on learning how to budget, learning how to save, learning the value of money, and hopefully having a lot of fun. Don't hesitate to drop me a mail if you're battling. My voice may be croaky and I might sound a bit scary, but I would really love to help you. And that brings us to the end of the tutorials for the personal cash book. I hope to speak to you again very soon. Ciao for now.